Ron Klain served as a chief of staff for Vice President Joe Biden and then Vice President Al Gore. He will now be the person in charge of leading the U.S.'s response to the Ebola crisis. An official White House announcement is expected within the day. Joining us now with details is Wall Street Journal news editor Aaron Zitner from our bureau in Washington. Aaron, thanks so much for being with us.
Hi, Tanya.
So, Aaron, given that this is the first Ebola Czar in U.S. history, what will this role entail?
Well, his job is to coordinate the various agencies involved in responding to Ebola patients in the U.S., HHS, CDC, and hospitals around the country. We've all seen rising anxiety around Ebola, a drip, drip, drip of new revelations every day about what went wrong in Texas with the handling of the patient and now patients there. We have people who've been involved in treating the patients in Texas on airplanes and on cruise ships, and a growing public anxiety. So the practical issue here is to put someone at the center of the administration who has the president's ear, coordinating the response, and then more in a political sense, trying to calm everybody down.
And Mr. Klain certainly has years of experience in Washington, but he is not a health expert. Should that not be a concern, as the role is, as you described, largely bureaucratic?
Well, it is an interesting decision when I think back to the anthrax scare that came right after 9/11. At that time, there was also public anxiety over the spread of a disease, and the HHS secretary at the time, Tommy Thompson, was not considered an effective public communicator on this, nor was the Surgeon General. At that time, President Bush went to a medical person, Tony Fauci, who heads up infectious diseases at the NIH, to kind of be the public face of the government in responding to anthrax. This is a different calculation. It's picking someone who is an organizer and a political operative, a kind of logistics person to be involved. My suspicion is that the head of the CDC and the head of the Department of Health and Human Services will still be the administration's public face for health reasons.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the CDC, because this announcement comes a day after the CDC was grilled for its handling of the Ebola response. Will the czar have seniority over the CDC, influence over it?
This person will report to the president's top advisor for Homeland Security and to Susan Rice, the national security advisor. So Mr. Klain will be one step removed from the president, but he's in the president's inner circle, he's in the White House, and in that sense he carries authority. So even if there isn't a firm line on an organizational chart, he works for the people who ultimately run the administration.
Absolutely. And now, of course, Mr. Klain's appointment comes amid calls for travel bans. So far, the administration has not been too receptive to this. Is this appointment expected to bring some calm to the public?
Well, clearly that's what's going on here. You have this public anxiety, and this was becoming a significant political problem for the president and the Democratic Party just 3 weeks ahead of these midterm elections. The ramping up of criticism by Republicans of the administration was quite noticeable yesterday, and you have a lot of stirring of the anxiety that's out there kind of coming into the political sphere. This is clearly an effort, along with some other steps, by the president to show that he's taking proactive steps to deal with the problems that have arisen. Another one was he signed an executive order yesterday that calls up the reserves and National Guard, both in the U.S. and to be deployed in Africa if needed. Now you have the appointment of Ron Klain. The travel ban is a pretty rich, complicated subject. The president yesterday said that he was open to it if it was medically advisable and practical. We still haven't heard the administration kind of walk through its thinking with the public on what would be the upsides and downsides of a travel ban.
All right, Aaron, thank you so much for all of that.